New Orleans Pelicans, Harry, you want to go.
Yeah.
The NBA wants you to go.
The NBA wants you in there against
Everybody
LeBron.
wants you in there. So does Will Guillory. I don't even know if he's heading to Orlando, but let's find out. Of course, he covers your New Orleans Pelicans down there, and he joins us right now. Will, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all for having me on.
So, 3 players have already bailed, right? So what's the status now? Because the Nets are, every hour, another New Jersey, Brooklyn Net guy is leaving. Are the Pelicans going to be okay?
Well, yeah. I mean, David Griffin announced today that 3 of the players tested positive. One of the league did their league-wide testing. And, I mean, the way they phrased it today, they expect those guys to quarantine and then still be available going into the bubble. The exact words David Griffin used was, he sees no reason why they won't have the entire team going with them, I believe was the phrasing he used. So he's expecting everyone to go, even the guys that tested positive. It's just a matter of, getting them away from the team and having them go 2 straight days with negative tests.
Now, Will, obviously everybody's talking about Zion, and you can tell when you look at the schedule, the NBA knows that any matchups with Zion back on, I mean, he started off slow with the injury, and then he played lights out. And so he's going to be probably one of the 3 or 4 players that everybody wants to see in the final 8 games, and obviously hope that he gets into the playoffs. Isn't that what the NBA wants and what pretty much everybody wants to see?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, we've known this guy was box office, basically since his sophomore year of high school. I mean, he's one of the biggest names. Everybody loves to see him play. You never know, whenever he steps on the court, he might do something we've never seen before. And the fascinating thing was that he sat out, basically the first half of the season and then came back and hit the ground running. And it was amazing that he came out, shooting almost 60% from the field, 24 and 8 every night, and putting up these huge games against teams like the Lakers and Portland. So I think he from everything I've heard, people within the team, I think they're really excited to see what he can do when he comes back. He's been working hard. And I think with the playoffs right there within grasp, I think this Pelicans team is going to come out and make some noise and have a lot of this talented roster come out and show what they can do. And it's crazy because they're still so young and they have such a bright future ahead of them.
Yeah, I think he's only played, 19 games this whole season. But what is he? Give us an idea as to what he's like to cover. I mean, is he one of these guys that when you talk to him, you think like he gives you the impression that he's been in the league for a couple of years? He's sort of older than he really is.
Yeah, I tell everybody, man, he's the most unique 19-year-old I've ever been around, because I couldn't imagine, being that famous and having all those followers on Twitter and Instagram and everybody screaming your name everywhere you go, and you got the Jordan deal and the 2K deal and the Mountain Dew deal, and you talk to him, he just seems like a kid. Like, none of it phases him. He still, loves being around the guys. He doesn't take himself too seriously. He'll have a real conversation with you. It's crazy how grounded he is, and I think it just kind of shows you how different this generation is and how, all of the attention you get from social media and all of that stuff is just a part of life for them. And it's not that crazy. It's just what they're used to and how they live. And I think he's kind of one of the first guys of that generation to kind of have that kind of following. And it really doesn't mean anything to him. And it says a lot about him, but also his generation and how different they are from old guys like me.
We're talking with Will Guillory down there in New Orleans. So, obviously, you got the Saints down there who have been the staple for many, many years as far as sports fans are concerned. How geeked is the city about this Pelicans team?
Oh, I mean, they're thrilled, especially once Zion came back. Of course, there was all the hype before the season. I mean, he goes down with the knee surgery, and, it kind of fell off with the big losing streak and them starting off so terribly. But, I mean, once you saw that guy on the court and some of the highlights he put up, I tell you, I constantly get asked about him and, what is he like and how good do you think he's going to be? What do you think he's going to do in the playoffs? I think people are kind of just fascinated with him, the basketball player, but also him, the character, what you guys have brought up, how his personality-wise, he's so different than what we're used to, kind of these phenom-type guys. He was the number 1 pick, and we saw him cry on stage as if we didn't know he was going to be the number 1 pick 4 years ago. You know what I mean? I think he's just so different from what we're used to seeing, and he's also got this 285-pound frame, and he can jump up and do 360 windmills. So he's unlike anything we've ever seen before.
Well, they're 3.5 games out of that final seed, and they're tied with the Portland Trailblazers, who by all accounts they don't want to be there either, from what we've been hearing these last couple of weeks. Looking at their schedule, their first couple of games, Utah and the Clippers, and then I believe Memphis are tough games, but then it gets a little bit easier for them. What do they think they need to do in these 8 games to qualify?
Yeah, I think you just mentioned it. You got to start off fast. So those first 3 games. Clippers, Utah, and then Memphis Grizzlies. Those are going to be huge games. So I think, obviously with the Clippers and Utah, they've got championship aspirations, and they want to get off to a fast start. I think especially with a team like Utah, after losing Bojan Bogdanovic, one of their most important players, they want to come out and establish some type of rhythm before they really get into a playoff situation. And I think if you come out with and maybe get 2, maybe even all 3 of those games, you got to feel great if you're the Pelicans going down the stretch, because you got games against teams you're competing against, and teams, frankly, that are probably the worst going to Orlando, like the Wizards and the Magic. Those are games you probably should expect to get. So I think the big thing for the Pelicans, if you can get off to a hot start, you can maybe run off, 4 or 5 wins in a row and put yourself in a great position.
Now, Alvin Gentry, of course, is 65 years old. That first day when the commissioner, Adam Silver, made the comments about worrying about older coaches, he walked that back quickly, because Alvin Gentry said, hey, ain't no way I'm not going to be down there with my team. And so he's going to go, and I'm reading on the story there that there's going to be like a party of 35 that will travel down together. And so, as far as you know, will the coaches be allowed on the benches with the team? What is the plan right now with David Griffin and Alvin Gentry in this organization?
Yeah, I got a chance to talk to Alvin last night for a story I put up on The Athletic this morning, and I think for him, he just wants to be treated like any other coach, and I think that's the way all of the coaches around the league feel. They don't want, just their age or anything like that to determine, whether they'll be able to do their job. And I think there's the discussions about whether coaches will be allowed on the bench or whether they have to wear a face mask. And we know how Alvin is and how, upbeat, and he's running up and down the sidelines during games. He doesn't want any restrictions. He doesn't want anybody to characterize him as a 65-year-old, because he doesn't move like a 65-year-old, that's for sure. And I think he just wants to be able to coach his team the same way anybody else does, because it would be a disadvantage, frankly, if your coach is, 4 rows up into the stands and your guys can't really hear him on the court. I think, obviously you got to do what you can do to protect everybody in the bubble if you're Adam Silver, but you got to make sure the competition is as even as possible, knowing how crazy this environment is going to be and how different it's going to be from everything we're used to.
Hey, Will, this roster is a pretty interesting mix of young talent and some veteran players. Had they had Zion Williamson for all, 56, 57 games, whatever it's been, where do you think they'd be right now in this playoff mix?
I think they would be a top 4 team in the West. I think the talent they have, from not just Zion, but Brandon Ingram was playing at an all-star level. Drew Holiday is one of the best two-way players in the league. J.J. Redick, the sharpshooter off of the bench. And I think guys like Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, so some real growth in their game, especially Lonzo. I think, he was probably the best story on the team, I feel like, the second half of the season with the jump he made once he really got healthy. So I think the amount of the talent they have on the roster, the depth, and their ability to play so many different lineups, and you got Zion out there. And, I think the guy, if he played the whole season, he would have been right there in all-star contention. Yeah, he was that good. And then he's just so difficult to defend with the way he moves and his strength for a guy, his age is unbelievable. And then also you got the huge alley-oops between him and Lonzo. He's so tough to deal with. And then you also got a 25-point scorer in Brandon Ingram. This has a chance to be a really high-powered offense. It's just what they can do on the defensive end to, add up those wins.
Will Guillory with The Athletic down in New Orleans. And you mentioned the traveling party. Tomorrow is a big day. Wednesday is when the teams have to nail down the rosters and who's going to go. And we're seeing a lot of guys bail at the last minute, primarily, guys who play for the Nets, leading the league in bailouts. Do you expect any of the players on the team, even the 3 that tested positive, who they can't name, you expect to see guys that we know not going down there and making the decision, or the team making the decision not to take them down?
Yeah, from everything the team is saying and stuff I've heard from people behind the scenes, it seems like everybody on the team wants to go. I think they feel like they have a really good opportunity to make a run here, and they really want to start to set the foundation down, not for this year, but they feel like they could be a real contender next year if they can bring everybody in healthy, and then year 2 Zion, year 2 Brandon Ingram in this organization. I think they want to really establish something this year that they can build upon going into next season, and that's why I think you're going to see this entire roster go, the entire coaching staff, and they're going to take this thing very seriously.
Pelicans beat writer for The Athletic, NOLA, Will Guillory, joining us, and you can follow him on Twitter at Will Guillory. With all the layoff and the strange situation of playing in a bubble with no fans, what do you think the quality of basketball we're going to see early on?
Man, I think it's going to be rough, if I can just be honest with you. I think it's a good thing that the league puts, basically 3, preseason games or scrimmages, whatever you want to call them, before we actually get to the 8 seeding games. Because I think, there's going to be some rough basketball in there. I think, again, something I mentioned earlier, it's going to be interesting to see some of these guys who tested positive and then still end up going, whether you're going to be, 2 weeks quarantined and not being able to use that time to get yourself in shape or to work with your team. How does that affect play? If you lose a really important guy for 2 weeks, how long does it take him to get back into the groove of things? That's going to be a question a lot of these teams have to answer. But I think, it's going to be rough early on. But once we get closer to the playoffs, we've seen it before. Guys just know how to lock in and get themselves mentally prepared when those games really start to matter.
Now, we have a lot of wise guys on our Twitch stream here.
No,
not like Zeke's, because we turn ours off. When we turn ours off, we're not faded, bro. But a lot of people are saying things like, well, the Grand Floridian Ballroom down there in Orlando is going to be converted into a strip club. Is there some of these things now?
Can you confirm or deny that?
I cannot confirm or deny. I promise you, there will be some women in the bubble. If we know anything about NBA players, they make sure they're surrounded by women as much as possible. So there's going to be some extra parties making it into some of those parties that we don't know about. I promise you that.
And how about another one that most of the older coaches are going to be staying at the Villages? Is that another rumor that you can confirm or deny right now, Will?
I did not hear that one, but that's a pretty interesting one. I did not know about that one.
That's a little far away from Orlando. That's about an hour or so north. They need a helicopter to bring those guys in.
They'll get a private bus. They'll get one of those party buses.
Will, this is Miss Robin here. Here's another one. This one actually seems more likely. Downtown Disney being converted into the girlfriend zone.
Well, the girlfriend zone, you got to have one of those, man, because they're not allowed on the floors, right? And the hotels are staying. Now, have you looked at the breakdowns of the hotels where the certain teams, because Harry and I did this when they first announced which teams are staying in which Disney hotel. You notice that the Pelicans,
they were
like
good teams. They were all the good teams.
Yeah, did you notice that?
Yeah, they're staying in the yacht club. Did I get that correct? The yacht club? That sounds pretty exclusive to say you're outside the playoffs. So I'm not mad at staying at the yacht club, that's for sure. But my big question was, if you're one of these teams at the bottom of the bracket, if I knock out the 1 seed, do I get to take their hotel? If they got the nice hotel, can we just move over into their rooms and kind of upgrade? That's what I want to know.
Now, I've been in the yacht club. It's right next to the Disney beach. So there's a fake beach there. They have an outdoor. They have a boardwalk. It's supposed to be like Atlantic City or a beach resort. So you got the Disney Yacht Club. But they don't play yacht rock radio in there, so I don't think the NBA players would want to be listening to yacht rock
they don't want any of that
when they're in the club. You know what I'm saying?
Especially some of the young guys with the Pelicans, like Lonzo Ball, who just put out his own rap album.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he's listening to much yacht rock these days.
Wait, he dropped an album?
Yeah, on Friday. I think it was called the Bounce Back album.
The Bounce Back album.
I asked Alvin Gentry about it. He gave it 2 thumbs up. So there you go. Yeah, Alvin Gentry said, man, that guy's got skills.
Exactly. Good stuff. Well, man, appreciate the time, man. We're looking forward to it. And obviously the Pelicans are up and coming. Last question, though, is a lot of people are saying that the Pelicans, there aren't a lot of Pelican fans. The biggest Pelican fan is Adam Silver and the NBA, obviously.
Yeah.
But what about the vibe in New Orleans? Are people, as I asked you earlier, there's reports on here that, well, no, nobody cares about the Pelicans in New Orleans. I don't believe that at all. Why would they not like the Pelicans? This is an up-and-coming team, man.
Absolutely. I think the people in the city really started to fall in love with this team, especially second half of the year. I think it was so rough on them last season with the AD drama and kind of seeing, the best guy in franchise history just reject the team and the city as a whole. I think that was a huge blow for them. And, such a huge disappointment coming off of, the excitement with Boogie Cousins and the playoff run, sweeping the Blazers and then going into AD saying, I want to go play with the Lakers. That was rough. And I think, getting a guy like Zion into this franchise, man, I can't tell you how much of an impact it made in the city and how many people, just like I said, are constantly asking me about Zion and what's going on with him, what's he look like. Is he fat? And can he really dunk and do 360s? And, is he as big as LeBron? I just constantly hear about it, and I think people are kind of hesitant just because, they're always used to being disappointed here with the basketball franchise, but I think people are really excited to see where this team goes into the future and how these young guys go together.
Exactly. Last thing is, will LeBron be running the monorail throughout the Disney park to make sure all the players are staying, copacetic and ready to perform, man?
Oh, yeah. We know LeBron is going to be the captain of the bubble for sure. He's going to be running everything. He's going to tell them when to turn the lights off, when the music is coming on, all of that good stuff. We know
Bed
LeBron
check.
is going to run
He's going to go
everything.
up and down each hallway to make sure everybody's asleep by 10 o'clock at night, right?
I mean, he's got JR and Deion Williams and JaVale McGee on his team and Dwight Howard. I mean, he's got all type of characters on his team, so he probably going to have to do that in the bubble to make sure they get some rest.
And don't forget J.R. Smith now. He's part of that.
That's right.
He's part of this back.
And he'll have his shirt off.
Yes, he
when
will.
He does
He'll
the
take his
bed
shirt
checks.
Well, good stuff, man. Really appreciate the time. Thanks for popping on with us, man.
I appreciate y'all for having me.
There he is,
Thanks,
Will
Will.
Guillory, ladies and gentlemen, down there in New Orleans.
Yeah, Lonzo Ball. It's his second album. I didn't even know he had a first one.
Is it better than the Allen Iverson album or some of the other great albums?